Need to restock inventory, cover seasonal dips, or manage payroll? OnDeck's small business line of credit provides immediate access to funds up to $100,000 exactly when your business needs it. With flexible draws, transparent pricing, and full control over repayment, you can tackle unexpected expenses without missing a beat. Apply today at ondeck.com and funds could be available as soon as tomorrow. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. And I think I usually say the Kilowatt podcast. Anyway, welcome. Let's go ahead and get to all the news that I wasn't able to get to yesterday with the Tesla news. So we're going to jump into the EV news. Now, I will say that this episode's already going to be long enough. I didn't add anything that happened today. Just because it's already going to be a longer than normal episode. So let's go ahead and jump in. Lucid Motors is teasing what might be a new EV model. Lucid teased the vehicle in a social media post, and they are calling it a bold new concept of electric exploration. In the social media post, there's a picture of a camouflage crossover or maybe SUV driving in the desert off-road. It's kind of hard to tell based on the angle, and the car is camouflaged. Lucid has talked about an off-road vehicle in the past, even as far back as Peter Rawlinson, he was talking about it when I think it was either for the Gravity he was talking about it or for the new $50,000 vehicle. But anyway, looks like Lucid is going from luxury to off-road. Now, I would imagine, because it's Lucid, the off-road version is going to be very luxury. In terms of the more affordable model that Lucid has coming out at some point in the near future, we should hear something about the $50,000 EV that they're working on soon, I would imagine. And Lucid has hinted at some kind of August 14th announcement, although I haven't heard anything else on that. So maybe there'll be an announcement tomorrow. Maybe there won't be. We'll see. Does anybody in the community remember a company? It was an EV startup out of Germany called Sono Motors. It started when a few friends got together and built a prototype in a shed. This is a 5-seater economy car. They went on Indiegogo. They raised $700,000. The cool thing about this car is it had solar panels built into the car, so it wasn't like they were sitting on top of the car. They were actually molded and fit in with the car, so it looked really nice. Sono said you could get 50 to 60 miles of range just from solar. They had this really cool air filtration system. It was probably a gimmick, but it was kind of cool, which was moss. They had moss in the dash as a natural air filter. Well, despite having 45,000 paid reservations, sadly, Sono Motors went out of business in 2023. So why am I talking about them now? Well, they're selling off parts, components, prototypes on an Austrian auction site that's not in English, and I don't know how to speak German. So I can just tell you what I saw, not what not what each auction post says, but you can get some trim pieces for about 10 euros, seats for 14 euros, electric motors you can pick up for 50 euros. You can get a car frame for 100 euros. And if you want the prototypes, you can pick those up for about 600 euros. I'll put the link in the show notes to the article that I got this from, but there's 3 pages of stuff. So if you're in Europe and you were thinking about building your own EV or maybe converting a nice car to an EV, this is a really good opportunity. I don't know how much an electric motor costs, brand new, but I'm guessing it's more than 50 euros. So you're getting a great deal with this stuff. Not all of it is parts, go on there, check it out. I thought it was pretty neat to see. I don't have I mean, I could spend 50 euros on an electric motor, but I don't want to spend all of the money that it's going to cost to get it from Austria or Germany, wherever it happens to be, to the US. But I would like to have an electric motor just sitting around my house as a conversation piece. Anyway, RIP to Sono Motors. You had a cool idea. It was supposed to be a really affordable car, something that nearly everybody could buy brand new and, have good, reliable transportation. Now, let's go to the opposite of that. Sony and Honda Mobility partnered up on an EV. We know that's called the Afila One, which is a horrible name. It conjures up having to be on a registry, Afila One. But anyway, it's a horrible name. I was skeptical about it. I didn't know if it was actually going to make it into production. I am happy to say that I was wrong. The Afila One is entering pre-production at Honda's East Liberty factory in Ohio. Right now, engineers are fine-tuning the car prior to full production, so they're going through the validation process. So that's pretty cool. And through the validation process, they'll go through and they'll fine-tune it, but they'll also find if there's any issues, they'll correct those as they go along as well. The Afila One will come in 2 different trims. It's going to be full of technology. Keep that in mind before I tell you the prices. You're going to have the Origin, which is just under $90,000, and then you'll have the Signature, which is just under $103,000. Both trims will feature all-wheel drive, a 91 kilowatt hour 91 kilowatt hour battery. I wrote motor, that shouldn't be that way. 91 kilowatt hour battery and 300 miles of range. It's also going to include 40 sensors, including LiDAR. Sony is using AI to personalize the in-car experience. We'll see how that goes. The Signature, which is the more expensive of the two, is expected mid-2026, whereas the Origin will follow in 2027. I think what Honda and Sony what they're doing here, I think it's really cool, but I'm not sure the world needs another premium EV. We have a lot. And, when you look at the Lucids and even the Mercedes and BMWs and stuff, it's not like they sell a ton. So my hope is that Honda and Sony will eventually come out with something that, mortals can afford, and it will come with all the cool tech. Now, there is a thing in the EV world where a startup will build the most expensive thing they can build because it's supposedly supposed to pay for the more affordable version of the vehicle. That's in Tesla lore, that's in Rivian lore, a little bit in Lucid. Honda and Sony don't need to do that. They could build an affordable car tomorrow if they wanted to because they have all of the money. They don't need to worry about that. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. I am looking forward to seeing it. I've seen it twice at CES to this point, but I'd like to see it on the road and what actually gets included in the vehicle versus what is being shown at CES, which is, optimistic. Moving on to the NEVI program, which was supposed to subsidize, it's a really hard word for me, subsidize EV charging infrastructure across the U.S. So these are federal funds that the states come up with a plan, and then they issue that plan to the federal government, and they say, cool, we sign off on this and we give you your money. Or they say, you know what, we'd like you to change these kind of things. And then eventually they approve the money. And it's worked out pretty decent. It was a slow start. The infrastructure and the permits and the approvals that need to take place to bring in large amounts of electricity to different sites, it's a lot. There's a lot of moving parts. So there was a little bit of criticism that, only 2 chargers had been installed or something like that, like late 2024. But in reality, these things, they just take time. Well, after President Trump took office, it looked like the NEVI funds would go away. So then, just so you know, the NEVI stands for National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. It looked like it was going to be killed. In fact, the DOT froze program funds what they said was to update the program to align with current U.S. DOT policy and priorities. We all know what was happening during that time, right after Donald Trump took office. There was, Elon Musk was running around with Doge and cutting different programs and departments and all that stuff that goes, I don't have to recap it. Everybody knows there's plenty of news coverage. The projects that were currently under contract, though, the Trump administration did allow those contracts to move forward, but they weren't approving any new contracts. Several states sued the administration, and the federal judge ordered the administration to unfreeze the money. So on August 11th, the Department of Transportation, issued newly revised guidance that gives the states a roadmap on how to get access to those funds. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said in a statement, "While I don't agree with subsidizing green energy, we will respect Congress's will and make sure this program uses federal resources efficiently." Which, you know what, I kind of agree with that. Subsidizing different industries is a mixed bag for me personally, right? Sometimes it can feel like the government is picking favorites, or whoever's got the best lobby folks, the best lobbyists, and promises made. There's just a dirty thing that comes through when it comes to this kind of stuff in certain industries. Like, I'm conflicted about it. That's what I'm saying here. I do sometimes think that subsidies are necessary for different industries to get them off the ground. So I don't know. I feel like I'm digging myself a hole here, but in general, I'm glad they updated the program. I did not compare what the old program was under the Biden administration compared to what it is under the Trump administration. If I had to guess, they're probably not that much different than, there might be a few changes, but it's probably not a lot of changes.
The key to good skin is hidden deep in the ocean. Osea's Undaria algae body oil harnesses the powers of Undaria seaweed for silky, soft, and glowing skin. Clinically shown to instantly improve skin elasticity, Osea's Undaria algae body oil isn't your typical body oil. Get 10% off your first order with code SEAWEED10 at OSEAMalibu.com. Plus, free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $50.
Need to restock inventory, cover seasonal dips, or manage payroll? OnDeck's small business line of credit provides immediate access to funds up to $100,000 exactly when your business needs it. With flexible draws, transparent pricing, and full control over repayment, you can tackle unexpected expenses without missing a beat. Apply today at OnDeck.com, and funds could be available as soon as tomorrow. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
All right. Ford had their Model T moment. On August 11th, Ford announced what a lot of people thought was going to be a new truck at their Louisville, Kentucky plant. And Jim Farley was calling it their Model T moment. Now, for me, when I was talking to somebody about this over email, I thought that they were going to announce a new platform, and they were going to call the platform Model T. And I also thought that they're going to show off a mid-size pickup truck, like something the size of the Maverick. They didn't do that. They did announce a new platform. It is called the Universal EV Platform. It will facilitate trucks, SUVs, crossovers, vans. The announcement was very uninspiring when it comes to the EV platform. There were some cool things that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but I still think they should have called it the Model T platform. Like the Model T, I went back and looked. The Model T had a bunch of different body types built on the Model T platform, the original one. So I'm just going to run down some of the ones that I found that I thought were cool. There was a 2-passenger coupe. It was equipped with 3 oil lamps, a tubular horn, and a toolkit. I love the 3 oil lamps. There was a 5-passenger touring car, a 3-passenger roadster where 2 people sat up front and they were undercover, but the person in the back was just sitting in the back but open to the elements. There was the 2-passenger runabout, and they had the torpedo runabout if you wanted a little bit of a sportier option. And then they had a 6-passenger town car, which also came with 3 oil lamps, a tubular horn, and a toolkit. Man, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to call this episode 3 oil lamps, but that it wouldn't make sense. But anyway, I love that was in there. I love that was a selling point, like a perk. If you bought this car, you get 3 oil lamps. Now, I thought, and maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought the Model T also had a truck version, but it could be that people just converted it to a truck. But I thought it had a truck version. As far as I can tell, I don't know. As far as I can tell, I don't know if it did or not. I did look and I did find Model T trucks, but I didn't find anything that was like officially from Ford. So I don't know. If you know, let me know. In terms of, nowadays, the present, Ford did announce a midsize truck that will be built on this universal EV platform. The interior of this truck is going to be roughly the size of a RAV4. It's going to have a nice big frunk, and Jim Farley said a full-size bed. I don't know exactly what that means to Jim Farley. It's going to run on LFP batteries, lithium iron phosphate batteries, and those batteries are going to be in a prismatic form factor, which are like these little rectangle batteries. The cost of the vehicle is it's gonna start at $30,000, but they didn't give any other details about the truck other than it's coming out in 2027, and we'll see if they can actually hit that $30,000 number. That's going to be tough to hit. But Ford says with this new EV platform that they have, that it is designed for cost savings. So, before I talk about the way that they're going to save money, or the way that they said they're going to save money on this, I do want to mention, though, because I skipped over this, they're using a software first approach, which honestly it seems like they should have done that with all of their electric vehicles, not just the ones that are up and coming. Anyway, the new platform is supposed to cut costs by reducing workstations by 40%. It's going to reduce parts by 20% and improve ergonomics for the people working on the vehicles. And they actually hit the ergonomics thing a lot. And I do, while it wasn't exciting and sexy, I do appreciate that when they were designing this platform, they designed it in a way that would allow their employees to go home whole and not injured or have some long-term chronic injury because they're doing repetitive tasks. So I did actually love that. And they spent quite a bit of time talking about it. Some other ways that they are saving money is using zonal architecture. And this allows them to remove 1.3 kilometers or 4,000 feet of wiring harness. So I tried to come up with an analogy that would work for this podcast here, an audio podcast. So the way that it used to be, right? If your blinker needed to be turned on, there was a central computer, and that computer you would send the signal to the blinker would come back and say, "Hey, I'm blinking," right? So it is one to many. Right. So imagine that every single employee at Ford, which are tens of thousands of them, personally reported to the CEO, Jim Farley, to get their instructions from him. So they're giving him information, and then also he's telling each individual employee what to do. That's how the old car wiring worked. Each component, like the wipers, the headlights, the seat motors, had its own direct connection to the main controller, which is what I should have said earlier instead of computer. The way that zonal architecture works is, imagine the employees are grouped by department, and each has a supervisor, and these supervisors handle the local issues and only escalate the important stuff to Jim Farley, right? So in a car, each zone controller or ECU manages the devices nearby, and then it talks to the central computer over a few high-speed links. So there's fewer ECUs that need to be put into the car, less wiring, which ends up saving about 10 kilograms or 22 pounds. And then this kind of thing is used by companies like Tesla and Rivian, and I'm sure a bunch of other companies as well, probably Chinese companies for sure. And then one of the other things that they talked about is Ford is investing $5 billion into their Louisville factory. And they have a new way of manufacturing these vehicles, and they're calling it the assembly tree. So what they do is they break the car into 3 sub-assemblies, and then each of these assemblies are built in parallel. So they gigacast, which is a Tesla term, I think, but it's not. Tesla didn't come up with the casting, but they cast the front, the middle, and the back. By doing these big casts, they're able to save a ton of parts. So by casting the front, the middle, and the back, they're able to build in tandem or in parallel as it's going down the line. So a traditional assembly line it's just one line, right? This one is going to be it's going to be 3 lines, but each line is dedicated to each particular sub-assembly. I hope that makes sense. By doing this, this is one of the other ways that they're improving ergonomics for employees. And that was Ford's announcement in a nutshell. I found it very funny because everybody that got on stage said a variation of the same thing. Doug Field, who came from Apple, and I can't remember exactly what he manages, but he manages something in the Skunk Works. He actually said some different stuff, but Jim Farley got up and said a bunch of stuff. And then the governor of Kentucky, and I can't remember what his name is, he went up and said a bunch of stuff, but it was the same thing that Jim Farley said. He just took twice as long to say it. The UAW went up there, and, I am pro-union, so I don't want to besmirch my union brother and sisters, but it was like, it was just like, it was hard to watch. This whole thing could have probably been 15 minutes. Actually, it could have been 15 minutes for the public. A lot of this was for the employees at that Louisville plant because it's bringing more jobs to that area. It's giving more opportunities to the employees that already work there. And then on top of that, there's some security there when they're ramping up new lines. There's more of opportunities for promotion and that kind of thing. So, in general, I thought this announcement was a little bit of a dud. But if you're an employee of Ford, I think this is really important for you to hear. It's a kind of rah for the troops type of thing, and maybe ease some concerns that they may or may not be having. I don't have any insight into how people feel in Louisville and that work at Ford, but yeah, I am genuinely looking forward to seeing what Ford's going to do. Right now they have the F-150 Lightning, which was effectively an F-150 with some parts swapped out to make an electric vehicle. It's not to say that vehicle is compromised in any way. It's not. It's a great vehicle. And then you have the Mustang Mach-E, which is built on its own platform. And then you have the Ford Explorer, which is in Europe, not here in the U.S. And the Explorer is great, from what I understand, in Europe. People really seem to like it. And that's built on the Volkswagen platform. So it's good to see that Ford has got its own platform. It's good to see that they are looking towards an electric future. However, I'm still sure that they're going to keep internal combustion cars around until they're no longer profitable. But yeah, I guess I'm conflicted. The announcement was a dud in my mind, but the content, the things that Ford's doing for the future, I'm very excited about. All right, everybody, that is it for me this day. Today, that's it for me today. I still have a show that's going to come out on Friday, and that is the Ford earnings call. And we'll probably talk a little bit about this as well, because I'm sure people are going to be, analysts are going to be asking Ford questions about their new announcement, the Model T moment, and I might be able to add a little bit more clarification now that we've gone through it. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening. If you want to email me, it's Bodie, BODIE at 918digital. You can find me on X at 918digital. And then what else? I just hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.